Hong family coming to their villa to find the land fraud protesters and reporters waiting for them to appear. Xianhua, Hei-in's mother, talks to Grace Go, who tells her that the back gate is safe to enter from. In reality, Grace calls the Hong family there so that the reporters can snap their pictures and write an article, humiliating the family for being homeless. When the Hongs reach the second gate, Grace changes her demeanor and informs them that they have been kicked out from the house, and their stocks and other possessions have been frozen on Sulhe's orders. At this moment, Hyunwoo arrives and blocks the view of the hidden reporters, calling out to the family to sit in the van. He takes all of them to Yeongduri. Hyunwoo's family is shocked to see the Hongs in the countryside but nonetheless welcome them. Xianhua throws a fit about going back to Seoul but steps on cow dung instead. Later, Hyunwoo's sister cleans her expensive footwear and realizes that they cost a fortune. Hyunwoo's family make dinner for the entire gathering. Hei-in's father, although reluctant, agrees that the food tastes delicious while Soo-cheol is picky about only drinking from imported water bottles. Hei-in knocks some sense into him, shocking the party as she hits him in the head. Hyunwoo feebly tries to convince everyone that she doesn't hit. While Hyunwoo's siblings do the dishes, they discuss if Hyunwoo and Hei-in might get back together, but Hei-in appears to negate all those assumptions. Meanwhile, Soo-cheol is shocked to be given an 8-year-old towel and cries about the Hyein Gunwoo. Elsewhere, Moon-sang confronts his mother about her decision to expel the Hongs from their house. He's displeased about being apart from Hei-in. Back at Yeongduri, Hei-in's parents listen to Soo-cheol crying himself to sleep. Beomja calls her oldest brother and breaks down, feeling guilty for the chairman's condition. She regrets being nasty to Sulhe, thinking that she wouldn't have attacked the chairman if it wasn't for Beomja's behavior. The old lady with dementia finds her and tries to console her. She lies about an unknown man searching for her, calling her mother, and asks Beomja to pretend to be her daughter. Beomja does that, but the man emphasizes that the old lady is really her woman. He's able to take her back home by tempting her with an ongoing television drama. While awkwardly talking over text, Hei-in realizes that it was Hyunwoo that she met on her last day of high school in South Korea, since he kept her MP3 player with an H inscribed on it all along. She tries to test him, but thinking that Hei-in is displeased, Hyunwoo emphasizes that he doesn't remember anything. In the morning, Hei-in offers to help Hyunwoo's mother, who is making japchae. She asks Hei-in to julienne the carrots, but since Hei-in is clueless, she shows her how to do it, impressing Hei-in through her culinary skills. Meanwhile, Xianhua meets Mi-sun, Hyunwoo's sister, who tries to give her heels back, emphasizing that they are clean and don't smell either. Xianhua tells her to keep it. In return, Mi-sun offers to style her hair. However, while in her salon, the neighborhood ladies appear and criticize Xianhua, oblivious to her presence. Xianhua, being upset, leaves. Eun-sung is the youngest chairman and trying to expand the business. Hyunwoo explains to him that he is looking for a new job, and requests Eun-sung to understand, which he does. On being asked about Hei-in's whereabouts, Hyunwoo feigns ignorance. In reality, Hyunwoo was gathering evidence against Eun-sung. Meanwhile, Grace, who was dreaming of usurping Hei-in's CEO position, is disappointed to know that Eun-sung and his mother have no such plans for her. Hyunwoo is able to find the man who restored the CCTV footage from the hunting site and recovers the lost footage of Dahai being the culprit behind the boar attack. The contents of the note which Dahai left Soo-cheol is finally revealed. She confesses to Soo-cheol about her real age and family background. She also reveals that Gunwoo is not Soo-cheol's son. Despite this fact, Soo-cheol is heartbroken that Dahai left him and cries in Hei-in's presence, who tries to silently comfort him. Elsewhere, Hyunwoo describes his next plan of action to his friend, Kim Young-gi. He is going to sue Eun-sung for investment fraud and employ Eun-sung's tactics to get the Queen's stocks back. Meanwhile, Hei-in's former secretary feigns ignorance about Hei-in's location, which Hyunwoo's former secretary relays to Eun-sung, that they have no contact with each other. Hyunwoo learns that the protesters were the victims of a double contract and land fraud. A broker offered them 5 times the market price of land, but he signed a contract with only double the market price with the Queens. Back at Yeongduri, Hei-in's father, Beom-jun, tries to reach out to all his contacts but to no avail. After drinking with Hyunwoo's father, Beom-jun narrates that his best friend refused to lend him 20 million won and that as the head of the family, he feels humiliated. Later, Hei-in undergoes another hallucination and faints. She wakes up to a concerned family, except for her mother. Beomja tries to persuade Seonhwa to be nice to Haein, knowing that she will regret her behavior if she knew the truth about Haein's illness, but in vain. It's revealed that Hyunwoo was investigating the land fraud case. He explains the situation to Haein and informs him that he sued the broker and got him a no-fly order from the court. Meanwhile, Eun-sung visits Haein's room and finds her hospital ID. He goes to check her reports and finds that she only has 3 months left to live. At the same time, Haein arrives to get her injections at the hospital. Haein's doctor calls Hyunwoo about Eun-sung's presence and Hyunwoo meets Haein there, informing about the situation. Eun-sung and Sulhee have another disagreement over Haein, while Eun-sung secretly relocates the chairman as a result. Hyunwoo receives a threatening message to lift the no-fly order, subsequently meeting the broker with a handful of thugs. We see that the chairman might be regaining consciousness. In the epilogue, it's revealed that Hyunwoo liked the girl with the MP3 and says that she was extremely beautiful. The epilogue ends while he wonders about where could the girl be now. Soo-cheol stumbling upon Baek Hyun-tae's boxing gym where he learns that Hyunwoo was actually a boxing pro. Simultaneously, Hyunwoo fights the broker and his men and turn them in to the police. Eun-sung threatens Haein to come back or he'll tell her parents about her condition. Soo-cheol and Hyun-tae are coming back home when Soo-cheol charges at Eun-sung for using him. He begs him to let him know if Dahae is doing well, but Eun-sung merely leaves. Later, Eun-sung checks with Dahae, making sure all her communication channels are cut off. When Dahae asks him about Soo-cheol, Eun-sung lies that Soo-cheol is angry at her and wants revenge. Meanwhile, Soo-cheol is weeping in silence, repeating Dahae's name. Haein waits for Hyunwoo to come back since he's late and is worried to see him all bruised up. She puts ointments and band-aids on his wounds. At breakfast the next day, Soo-cheol and Hyunwoo lie about falling down as an explanation for their bruises. While Hyunwoo is leaving, Soo-cheol almost tells him about Eun-sung, but Haein interrupts the two. She had told Soo-cheol to keep Eun-sung's presence a secret from everybody. She reapplies the ointment and band-aid on Hyunwoo's face and Hyunwoo decides to leave a bit later. Hence, they enjoy an ice cream while talking. Haein comments that if they had broken up sooner, Hyunwoo would have found a better person, but Hyunwoo emphasizes that he would have made the same decision in the past and would choose Haein again. Meanwhile, Sulhee is looking for the chairman and Eun-sung is determined to marry Haein. Hyunwoo has been reassigned a different position on the charges of malpractice that Eun-sung threatens him with. Eun-sung further tells Hyunwoo about his visit to Yeondori. Elsewhere, Sulhee strikes a deal with Grace in order to track the chairman while offering her the CEO position in exchange. Chairman's relocation news reaches Beomja, who leaves for Seoul. While on her way, she meets Young-song, the son of the lady with dementia, who tells her to eat meat in times of struggle. At the other hand, Hyunwoo's father has been replaced as the village head and he's bothered by the new changes taking place. While at the boxing gym, Soo-cheol suddenly remembers the game that Dahae often plays and checks to find that she was online 2 hours ago. Grace, while searching for the chairman's whereabouts, meets Hyunwoo, Kim Young-jae and Beomja. The three threaten her about her tax evasions and malpractices and she agrees to help them. They decide to look for hospitals close by, since the chairman was in a critical position to have been relocated farther. At the salon, the neighborhood ladies half-heartedly apologize to Seonhwa about their comments only to vex her even more. She goes to buy a coffee but her card isn't working. Fortunately, Hyunwoo's mother arrives and pays for her. She makes Seonhwa repay her by making her work in the orchard. On the bright side, Seonhwa is able to sleep deeply at night without the need for medications after a day of hard labor. Haein learns about Eun-sung's false accusations about Hyunwoo from her former secretary. She calls him only to be threatened yet again, this time with Hyunwoo as collateral. Hyunwoo later inquiries about Eun-sung and Haein relays that he wants her back home and gets jealous. The next day, Hyunwoo's mother finds a trail of leaves till Haein's room and overhears her talking to the doctor. Hyunwoo later tells her about Haein's situation and asks his mother to take care of her. At breakfast, Hyunwoo's mother prepares a feast for Haein and is especially caring towards her. At the gym, after waiting for what seems like forever, Soo-cheol is able to catch hold of Dahae and sends her a text message, giving her directions on Jeonwoo's vaccination. This reminds Dahae of how affectionate and loving Soo-cheol was towards her and Jeonwoo. Seonhwa picks a fight with Haein, as usual, when Haein is leaving for Seoul thinking she is in cahoots with Eun-sung. However, Hyunwoo's mother arrives at the right time and gives Haein a ride on her tractor. As Haein solemnly thanks her, a tear rolls down her mother-in-law's cheek. Elsewhere, Grace and Beomja have been successful in locating the chairman. Haein is preparing for a press conference with Eun-sung, unbeknownst to Hyunwoo. He finds about it only after the two leave for the conference. Hyunwoo follows them. At the press conference, Eun-sung explains Haein's return to her original position. However, Haein pivots to a different direction and exposes Eun-sung's threats to her and Hyunwoo. Hyunwoo and Haein share a meaningful glance. In the epilogue, it's revealed that it was a drunk Hyunwoo behind the trail of leaves, trying to ascertain if Haein loves him. We see a clip of the two's past where Haein asks Hyunwoo to protect his cute drunken self from other women. The drunken Hyunwoo stops outside Haein's door and confesses that he loves her. Haein listens to this confession on the other side of the door. Haein's press conference confession about her terminal illness. Her statement makes earth-shattering waves as her family finally find out about her illness. While Haein tries to reach Hyunwoo, she suddenly faints. In a heartbreaking voiceover, Haein laments about keeping her feelings towards Hyunwoo to herself. She wishes that she'd have a chance to tell him how much she loves him. While Hyunwoo tearfully watches over her in the ICU, Haein's family arrive, frantic at the sudden news of her collapse. While on their way to see the chairman, Sully arrives before Beomja and Grace can reach the chairman's room. She forces them out of the elevator. Beomja begs Sully to let her see the chairman and Sully agrees. When they enter the room, much to everybody's surprise, the chairman is sitting on the hospital bed. However, on closer observation, it's revealed that he's suffering from temporary dementia. And so, there goes Beomja's plan to topple Sully's tyranny and save her father from her clutches down to the depths of Atlantis. She's back to square one. Elsewhere, Haein's family is having a difficult time dealing with the news of her illness. Her father blames himself for not being more attentive and responsible. Dahae contacts Eun-sung since she is worrying about Soo-cheol's anxiety attacks on reading the news about Haein's illness, but Eun-sung threatens her to never call him for such business. Soo-cheol breaks down in front of Hyunwoo, blaming and tearing the talisman he had been carrying around to suppress Haein's energy. Comically, this is when Haein wakes as well, after Soo-cheol gets rid of the talisman. She apologizes to Soo-cheol before he leaves to inform the rest of the family about Haein. After Soo-cheol leaves, Haein confesses her love for Hyunwoo and explains that she knew he had been unhappy with her family and she did not want him to suffer. Hyunwoo tells her that he had prayed all night for her recovery. Funnily enough, it was more of a threat as he threatened the gods that he'd ruin his life if Haein dies. He comforts her that he would be by her side and she will live. As Haein's family hurry to meet her, Seonhwa is completely shattered and regretful over how she treated Haein. She blames herself for pinning her grief regarding the loss of her first child onto Haein and making her suffer. Noticing her mother's absence, Haein overhears Seonhwa and Hyunwoo's conversation where Seonhwa is blaming herself for being a bad mother. Haein steps in and tries to comfort her. Seonhwa repetitively apologizes to Haein before the two have a tearful embrace. Meanwhile, Sully brings the chairman back home and puts up a show about how the chairman still trusts her the most in front of the company's management. In reality, the chairman is wary of Sully as he hazily recognizes his room. Sully dismisses the attendants and forces him to tell her about the secret slush fund. From Sully and Eun-sung's conversations, it's revealed that since Haein's press conference confession, the public has been sympathizing with the Hong family. It's only a matter of time before Eun-sung and Sully's autocracy ends. Hence, Eun-sung and Sully are looking for the chairman's secret slush fund so that they can buy the rest of the Queen's stocks and assert their legitimacy and dominance over the Queen's group. Interestingly enough, they are unable to find it, even though the chairman transferred the funds to Sully's name. In the meantime, Haein is showered with love from everybody, even her secretary, who asks Haein to come back. She also informs Haein about her newfound public image, that of Juliet, since she is viewed as a woman pining for her ex-lover. This theory is vetted when she receives pitiful glances from ladies in the hospital. Haein then asks Hyunwoo to be affectionate towards her to dispel the rumors of her one-sided unrequited love, and he gladly complies. This is when Eun-sung arrives, and from Haein and his conversation, we understand that Haein cut her ties with Eun-sung in their university days due to his obsession and toxic display of affection towards her. After Eun-sung leaves, he tries to pay Hyunwoo to leave Haein but receives a well-deserved jab on the cheek instead. After Eun-sung reaches the Exhong household, he starts looking for the slush fund and traces it to somewhere in Malaysia. At the same time, Hae-in and Hyun-woo discuss about how intricately the money was laundered by the chairman. On being inquired, Hyun-woo relays how the former employees of the company helped him gain the information about the slush fund. The next day, Hyun-woo is found guilty by an internal audit committee at the company, under the influence of Eun-sung's fake charges. However, his plan is thwarted when Hyun-woo's lawyer friends argue against the inconsistencies and loopholes associated with the charges. Furious at Hyun-woo's continuous interfering, he calls the land broker from the previous episode and asks him to get rid of Hyun-woo. While Hyun-woo is chatting with his lawyer friends, he shows him documents regarding the slush fund. In a flashback scene, we follow the trail of the shredded documents from the juice delivery man, the one whose child was in ICU and who Hae-in helped, to Hae-in's secretary and finally to Hae-in and Hyun-woo in Yeongdeori, where they assembled all the shredded pieces together. Meanwhile, Beomja has Conan on a mission to spy on Sulhee so that she cannot harm the chairman. Beomja accidentally glances over towards the farmer Young-song, the one whose mother has dementia, who is basking in the sun before being startled as their eyes meet. Young-song gives her a bag of mulberries and Beomja hilariously mistakes this gesture for affection. Later, the entire Hong family along with the Baek family enjoy a hearty dinner as a celebration over Hae-in's discharge from the hospital. They talk about how to get her WBC to increase and Hae-in seems happy to finally receive the love of her family. Meanwhile, at Dahai's, an uninvited visitor comes to meet her. We don't really know who yet, but it's definitely not Soo Cheol since he is busy being coached by Baek Hyun-tae over how to throw a punch when one's weak in a brief comic sequence. The next day, Hyun-woo relays the information about the slush fund to the Hong family and informs that the money is in Korea. Grace tells them about a suspicious warehouse in the outskirts of the city. The family disguise themselves as wholesalers in need of a warehouse while Grace becomes a real estate broker. They plan to keep the warehouse worker busy to decrypt the data about the slush fund. Hae-in later reveals that the money in the artwork is displayed inside the warehouse. She explains that her grandfather bought some rookie artist's paintings at 10 times higher price and was refunded 90% or more in cash. Hence, the existence of the slush fund. Hyun-woo leaves to get the car and Quickie returns with an umbrella. There is something odd about his serious expression and they get into the car. Not long after, they are chased by an unknown man. After much effort, they lose him only for the mysterious car to block their way. And the man who comes out of the car is Hyun-woo. It's revealed that Hae-in had a hallucination where Eun-sung's face transformed into Hyun-woo's for her. The episode ends with Hyun-woo passionately calling out to Hae-in while Eun-sung locks the car and Hae-in is confused and afraid at the same time. In the epilogue, we see that Hyun-woo is unbothered by mean comments towards him but is furious when he comes across anonymous hate comments against Hae-in and proclaims to sue them. Hae-in and Hyun-woo looking over the CCTV footage at the warehouse where they initially thought the slush fund to be. Hae-in recognizes the truck from the CCTV to be the one that she saw on the day the chairman told them to leave to change the ventilators. This means that the slush fund was transported from the warehouse to the Hong residence that day. Hyun-woo then leaves to get the car since it begins to rain. The events from the last episode now take place from an outside perspective and we see Eun-sung approach Hae-in, who is sitting alone near the warehouse. She mistakes him for Hyun-woo and Eun-sung plays along. Meanwhile, Hyun-woo returns to see Hae-in climb into Eun-sung's car and chases them. The rest is history. Hae-in comes back to her senses and gets out of Eun-sung's car. However, she tells him that Eun-sung invited her to avoid telling him what actually happened. She then leaves with Eun-sung with a mind to poke around the house for clues regarding the slush flush. Hyun-woo, however, is hit on his head by an unknown person. Hae-in and Eun-sung reach the Hong household and Eun-sung prepares for a dinner date with Hae-in while she just wants to meet her grandfather. At the same time, Hyun-woo wakes up in his car while the broker is getting ready to kill him. He receives a call from the land broker that Hyun-woo has been killed. Eun-sung turns off his mobile claiming to send money to the broker later. Unlike his plans though, Hae-in is not interested in dinner but Eun-sung is able to keep her there by telling her a story about how he saved her from the dog and even from drowning. It's revealed however, that he lied about the latter incident. Meanwhile, Dahai's uninvited guest is the finance director of the Queens, who is revealed to be Gun-woo's biological father. He is also nasty, rude, insensitive, and violent. He informs Dahai that he has committed illegal acts while serving as finance director and pinned the blame onto Sucheol and that Sucheol is going to get arrested. This makes Dahai worried about Sucheol. Back at the Hong residence, Hae-in meets her grandfather and is shocked to see him in a terrible state. She nevertheless whispers about the secret recording pen that he gave her, places it on a table and instructs him to tell Leave a message as she will be back for it. While she's leaving, the chairman says some cryptic lines which mention an air raid shelter. Hae-in leaves the house while Eun-sung and his mother argue about Hae-in's presence. She gets lost in the garden, unable to find her way to the main gate. This is when she sees Hyun-woo looking for her, but she isn't sure if he's Hyun-woo because he appears as Eun-sung to her for a brief moment. Luckily though, Hyun-woo finds her and is able to convince her of his identity. They leave the mansion. Meanwhile, Eun-sung is furious and calls the broker. It's revealed that Hyun-woo was able to barter his life by logically arguing that the broker would get a 20-year sentence for murder than a 3-year sentence for fraud. Because of this and Eun-sung's betrayal, the broker spares Hyun-woo's life. Hyun-woo and Hae-in spend the night at Hyun-woo's apartment, living a normal life, eating good food, cuddling and just being happy. She also tells him about the secret pen that she had kept in her grandfather's room. Meanwhile, Sucheol is practicing to be a boxer. Through his questions, it's revealed that Baek Hyun-tae's wife lives with him and treats him well because Hyun-tae's mother decided to be unorthodox and gave her freedom to do whatever she pleases in exchange of not divorcing her son, possibly because his other knew she was his only chance at marriage. Meanwhile, Gunwoo's father enters into an argument over a gold Buddha statue that Dahai stole from the Hongs, and almost harms Gunwoo. Dahai then mixes pills into his wine, packs her bags and leaves with all the money, along with the gold Buddha statue. Later, while Grace is dining with Eun-sung and Sulhee, it's revealed that it was her who helped Hyun-woo enter the Hong mansion. She then breaks a deal with the two, telling them that Hyun-woo thinks that the slush fund is in the house. Meanwhile, a bunch of reporters snap pictures of Hyun-woo's house and Mi-sun kicks one of them, but they are able to flee in their car. They decide to make a team of 5 to patrol the area in which Sucheol is excited to serve elsewhere. Hyun-woo and Hae-in reach Yeongdo-ri and watch a sunset. Hyun-woo presents a ring to Hae-in, asking her to take the divorce back, but Hae-in tearfully refuses, telling him about how her illness has worsened that she cannot even be sure of anything. She tells him about the day she mistook Eun-sung for Hyun-woo. At the same time, Eun-sung is looking for his mother and Beomja helps him to find her through Conan's spy drone. As they sit in his courtyard, they share a heart-to-heart about each other's personal history. Beomja tells him about how she behaved with her father before he collapsed, and Eun-sung tells her that he lived all his life without his mother, since she had left him to escape from his abusive father. He tells her that he brought her back when she got diagnosed with dementia. And this is how they trauma bond. In the meantime, it's revealed that the chairman is coming back to his senses and pretends to swallow the medicine given on orders by Sulhee. Instead, once the help leaves his room, he takes out the pill from his mouth and stores them in his bathroom cabinet. Back in Yeongdo-ri, the entire family discuss about the air raid shelter and conclude that the slush fund might be in the panic room. The issue is that although everybody knows about the panic room, nobody really knows where it exactly is. Hyun-woo suggests that there might be a secret floor plan. Later in the night, while patrolling the area, Sucheol meets Dahai, who has returned with both the gold Buddha statue and Gunwoo. Dahai apologizes to the family and returns all the money except that spent on air travel and in the US. While Seonhwa is furious at her presence, Sucheol defends Dahai, repeatedly tells them that Gunwoo was his child since he was present at his birth and brought him up. They leave, and while Dahai suggests that she will leave Sucheol alone, Sucheol emphasizes that he cannot live without her and Gunwoo. They eventually reconcile. Later the next day, Hyun-woo, with the help of his friend Kim Yong-ji, is successful in acquiring the original floor plan from the makers of the house. As they study the floor plan, they realize that the elevator that is connected to the chairman's room may have 2 doors, and one of them opens into the panic room on the other side. They plan to visit the house early morning, along with the charges of negligence by Sulhee towards the chairman's health. At this time, Eun-sung and his mother are already searching the entire house for the slush fund. Unfortunately, at the same time, Sulhee catches the chairman while he is in the bathroom cabinet. It's evident that he comes back to his sense for a brief period. The chairman tells Sulhee that it's like living in a horrible prison. That night, the chairman wakes up, records something in Hae-in's pen and proceeds towards the stairs, smiling while a sad music plays in the background. The next day when the Hongs arrive, the chairman is already dead from the fall. Sulhi loses the power of the attorney, meaning that the Hongs will be able to get their house and belongings back since Sulhi no longer has any power over them. After the funeral, the family visit the house with the chairman's picture, gets into the elevator and are able to open the door of the panic room. In the epilogue, we see Hae-in and Hyunwoo's mothers talking and looking over Hyunwoo's childhood pictures. It is here that it's revealed that it was Hyunwoo, being an excellent swimmer, saved Hae-in from drowning as a child. With a flashback of when the chairman first brought his family to their new house. He also records the passage to the panic room. Back in the present, the Hong family tour the house with the chairman, figuratively with his picture, for one last time. They enter the panic room and find it completely empty. From the stenciled dust marks on the floor, it seems that Sulhi got all of the money relocated from the panic room. They meet her in the living room and despite the Hongs asking her to leave, she refuses. It seems that she is still the legal resident and the Hongs will need a court order to make her leave. Simultaneously, we follow Hae-in, who retrieves the secret pen and listens to the recording. The chairman thanks her to allow him to address his family for the last time. He tells her about his condition where he only remembers for a short period of time. He asks his family to live a fulfilling life, not a regretful one like his. The Hongs attend the chairman's funeral where Hae-in expresses her sadness to Hyunwoo about her death, because she desperately wants to live. Meanwhile, we discover that Sulhi figured out the passage to the panic room through watching the old video recordings by the chairman. She moved the money into a vault and gives it to Eun-sung to proceed with their plan of complete ownership of the Queen's Group. Back in Yeongdeori, from Baek Do-gwan and Baek Hyun-tae's conversation, we discover that after the Hongs get their stocks back, they will be neck and neck with only a 3.4% share gap between the Hongs and Eun-sung. While both Hae-in and Hyunwoo's fathers are drinking for the last time before the Hongs leave the Baek residence, Hyunwoo receives a call from the German lab where they tell him that they have developed a procedure that is suitable for Hae-in. Only the catch is that after the surgery, Hae-in would lose all her memories. Hyunwoo relays this news to the two and decide to keep this a secret from everyone, and tell Hae-in only in Germany, otherwise she might refuse to undergo the procedure. The entire family rejoices over the joyous news and Hae-in cannot sit still in relief. After verifying the existence of the procedure from Hyunwoo multiple times, she breaks down in relief and expresses that she feels like she woke up from a long nightmare. The next day, the two enjoy a day of traveling in joy, clicking photographs, participating in exciting activities and generally enjoying their time together. Hae-in tells Hyunwoo that over the next many days, she will tell him 3 secrets. The first being that the MP3 player that he has with an H written on it actually belongs to Hae-in and the girl he met on the first day of high school was actually her. Hyunwoo is surprised and tells her that when he saw her, he thought that he had found the one. Hae-in also shows him the ring she's wearing on her finger and tells him that she will revoke their divorce petition. Meanwhile, at the Hong residence, Sulhi gives a checkbook to Grace but with a condition: she can only withdraw money when Sulhi approves of it. This is to make sure that Grace does not betray her. While Mi-suk and her mother are preparing to make kimchi for their in-laws, Da-hae helps them with her astonishingly fast chopping skills. At this time, Seonhwa comes and asks Da-hae to leave. Da-hae agrees that she will not be staying. She refers to Seonhwa as mother and Seonhwa objects, but Da-hae says that she will keep calling her mother because Seonhwa was the only mother she ever had. Mi-suk is relaying this story to her neighborhood ladies when Hae-in arrives. They are applying balsam on their finger and tell Hae-in about the legend where if the balsam stays on one's finger till the first snow, their first love will come true. And of course, Hae-in participates. She shows her balsam-tinted finger to Hyunwoo when he comes back from work and tells him about the legend. Hyunwoo feels jealous about it and asks her not to complicate things since they are already married. Meanwhile, Eun-sung is making his move. Rumors reached him that the eldest son of the Hong family might be making a comeback and so he's trying to launder the slush fund, to use it to buy stocks in the company. Alternatively, Hyunwoo's party is aware about his moves and are gathering proof against him with foreign exchange transactions. Hyunwoo also tells them that he has lost touch with the land broker who was to give him evidence regarding the double contract. However, later it is revealed that the land broker is murdered in his car. Grace arrives at the Baek residence and offers a home spa day for Hyunwoo and Hae-in's mothers. she learns about Hae-in's upcoming surgery. Later, she confronts Dahae about whether she's going to stay with Sucheol, and Dahae says that Sucheol is the only one who has ever loved her and she's going to stay with him. Meanwhile, Young Song meets Beomja and asks her to meet with him later at night. Beomja interprets that he wants to date her, but when they meet, he only wants to give her condolence money so that her father has money in the afterlife. Beomja is touched and weeps for her loss. Sucheol announces that he will be staying at the Baek residence with Dahae and Gunwoo, while Hyunwoo and Hae-in plan to live in Hyunwoo's apartment. Grace informs Sul-hee that Hae-in is getting a surgery and Eun-song overhears their conversation. He asks Grace to find where Hae-in is getting the surgery from. The next day, except for Sucheol's family, everybody leaves the Baek residence. Hyunwoo and Hae-in reach their apartment and are mistaken for newlyweds. And that is exactly how Hae-in wants them to be, and so they spend the next few days in pure marital bliss, making food together, going out, getting pictures from the photo booth. Back at the office, Hyunwoo meets Eun-song, who tells him that he's happy for Hae-in. But he also knows that Hae-in will lose her memories and it will be a chance for him to win her over. When he gets back home, he orders to clear all of Hyunwoo and Hae-in's memories and belongings. Hae-in goes to shop with her ex-secretary and she's a changed person. While earlier she only cared about money and profits, she now wants the department store to be a place where people come together to make memories and not just for shopping. Back in Yeongdeori, Baek Hyuntae's wife appears and requests her mother to take her son back. She shows her how Hyuntae invested in cryptocurrency and lost 90% of it, and invested in stocks and lost 50% of their savings. His mother apologizes to Hyuntae's wife and tells her that she's free. However, when Hyuntae tells her that Hong Beom-jun has gifted a building to the Baeks, she pulls a 180-degree switch. At the department store, Hae-in visits a section which is getting ready for Christmas decorations. This is when they witness the fake snowfall and Hyunwoo arrives. Hae-in tells him that her first love is Hyunwoo, and it's revealed that he arranged for the fake snowfall for Hae-in. Later, Baek Doo-gwan tells his wife about the caveat involved in Hae-in's surgery, and Sucheol overhears. All of the family finds out except for Hae-in. While Hyunwoo and Hae-in are in the car, on their way to the hospital in Germany, Hae-in discloses that she lied about the raccoon living on the rooftop. Finally at the hospital, Hyunwoo tells Hae-in that she will lose her memories and Hae-in prepares to leave. But Hae-in begs her to live. Eun-song also leaves for Germany. In the epilogue, we see Hyunwoo tearfully recording a video for Hae-in, telling her how much he loves her and he wouldn't let her go even if she couldn't remember him because they made a promise to each other. Hyunwoo and Hae-in on their honeymoon. While they wander in a park, that is also a cemetery, Hae-in notices a man putting flowers in a grave. She explains this to Hyunwoo, and also likes the fact that the cemetery is in a park, visited by people, and not in an isolated place or scattered. Hyunwoo comments that should Hae-in die, he'll live one more day and join her the next because he cannot live without her. We are then hurled into the present and Hyunwoo tries to persuade Hae-in to live. Eun-song is ready to leave for Germany when Sul-hee objects to his leaving. Eun-song believes that after Hae-in loses her memories, she'll give him another chance. Sul-hee tells him that there would be stakeholders meeting and that his position is in danger, but Eun-song says he cannot stop until he dies, and after he leaves, Sul-hee replies, "Fine, then let me help you." Eun-song catches a flight for Germany. We shift to Hyunwoo and Hae-in in Germany. Hyunwoo sneaks away to the church, praying. Hae-in follows him and he tells her that he's praying for her to live. Hae-in isn't interested in living anymore though. Hyunwoo tells her in the car that they cannot delay the surgery and Hae-in brings him to a lavender field. She tells him how she remembers the first time they come to the field, everything they did and saw. He argues that her memory is what makes her, her. If she loses it, neither would she be herself and Hyunwoo will be a mere stranger. And so, she says that she will live as herself and die as herself. Meanwhile, Beomja is completely head over heels for Young Song and decides to impulsively visit Yeongdeori. She finds Sucheol though, interrupting her conversation with Young Song. Young Song invites her for tea and Sucheol proceeds to embarrass Beomja. However, while she's leaving, Young Song asks her to visit again. Hyunwoo tells Hae-in that all the family members want to talk to her. Everybody gathers at the Baek residence and devise strategies to emotionally blackmail Hae-in, but they all get too emotional and fail to persuade her. Hae-in overhears everybody crying since they forgot to cut the call. In the meantime, Dahai is out with Gunwoo when she meets Sulhee. She asks her to betray the Hongs, but Dahai refuses, terming them as her family. Seonhwa witnesses this exchange and comes to indirectly defend Dahai in front of Sulhee. Hyunwoo visits the doctor, who tells him that Hae-in need to undergo the surgery as soon as possible for it to be successful. When he goes to find Hae-in, she's nowhere. Hae-in is in Hee churches, praying. Hyunwoo eventually finds her written prayer in the church that she wants to remember loving and getting love. He finally finds her Hae-in crying outside and begs her to get the surgery done, but she refuses every time. Later, they visit a restaurant and Hyunwoo uses another tactic to make Hae-in yield: jealousy. He purposely flaunts his appearance to make Hae-in jealous as women find him attractive. Eun-sung catches the two together and is furious. Meanwhile, Grace learns that Sulhee is planning to get rid of everybody including Dahai. She also learns that Sulhee has sent hitmen to Germany and Hae-in might be in danger. She calls Hyunwoo but changes her mind owing to the money she has in the bank account. Hyunwoo senses something wrong and rushes towards the car where he sees a truck knocking it. He frantically breaks the windows since Hae-in is supposed to be inside, but Hae-in was miraculously saved when she got out of the car to buy some 4-leaf clover charms. Hyunwoo is a mess though and cannot stop weeping. Hae-in tries to comfort him. Back in the hospital, she agrees to undergo surgery, stating that she cannot see him in tremendous pain, and she'd be too jealous to leave him. Back in Yongdori, Mi-suk convinces Hyuntae to give her the building because apparently her husband is cheating on her and she would be getting a divorce. Sucheol is working part-time in the Beck family's store and he suddenly gets an idea. He gets expensive crabs delivered and serves ramen with it without any profit, since he believes that it's marketing and they'll sell more. Needless to say, Baek Do-gwan understands why Hong Byum-jun apologized for leaving Sucheol behind. Meanwhile, Jeonwoo's father threatens Dahai that he will get Sucheol behind bars, and asks her to meet him. Dahai agrees and plans a trip to the adventure park with Sucheol and Jeonwoo. In the park, she disappears when Sucheol comes back from buying something, leaving to him asking her not to leave over an announcement. And she's too heartbroken at leaving him already that she goes back to him. Hae-in tours the city before her memories is wiped and sees her late brother again, for the last time, and smiles. Back in the hospital room, as they lie on the bed, she asks Hyunwoo to tell her whenever he got hurt because of her. He thinks for a long time, points out a few incidences, and tells her that he loves her. Hae-in also gives him a diary where she's written everything she remembered and asks him to read this to her when she recovers. The family and Hyunwoo get ready for Hae-in's surgery. Hae-in goes in while Hyunwoo waits outside. However, he's soon arrested by Interpol on charges of murdering the land broker while Eun-sung goes to visit Hae-in instead. Hae-in's family calls Eun-sung and he tells her father that he will, also, soon be arrested for embezzlement to cut off Hae-in from her family. We see Hae-in's memories turning to dust on screen and she wakes up and says Baek Hyunwoo, telling Eun-sung that it's the only name she remembers. Eun-sung weaves a fabricated story about how Hyunwoo is her criminal ex-husband and Eun-sung and Hae-in dated in college and are still in love. Meanwhile, Hyunwoo is detained but sees the first snow outside. Hae-in sees it too and then, on seeing her balsam-painted finger, she feels pain. In the epilogue, Hae-in asks Hyunwoo how he was able to memorize law in college. Hyunwoo tells her that he used to mumble the most important thing and his body would remember his voice in the exam. And so, before Hae-in loses consciousness in the operation theater, she mumbles Hyunwoo's name over and over. Eun-sung constructing a story of how Hyunwoo was a murderer and a stalker. Moreover, while Hae-in was unconscious, he found her diary, read it and burnt it before throwing it out in the garbage. He tells Hae-in that Hyunwoo stalked her for a share of her inheritance after he cheated on her, due to which she attempted suicide once already. When the pair get back to Korea, Hae-in's family are ready to meet her but Hae-in is distant. Eun-sung selectively told her about how her mother sued her and her brother carried a talisman to neutralize her energy. Hae-in is completely under Eun-sung's control and she doesn't believe anybody else. On top of this, Eun-sung is planning to marry Hae-in and Hae-in agrees since she believes that she agreed for it before her memories were wiped out. When Eun-sung and Hae-in get back home, Eun-sung reveals to his mother that he has the recording of when she drugged the chairman and threatens her to leave Hae-in alone. Meanwhile, Hae-in is surprised to find all her cabinets empty. She does find the MP3 player in Hyunwoo's room and feels curious about him since she thinks they have the same taste in music. Acting upon this curiosity, Hae-in visits Hyunwoo in prison. However, no matter Hyunwoo says, Hae-in refuses to believe him. When she returns home, Eun-sung is frantic at her absence, but even though she's lost her memories, Hae-in is still Hae-in. She flatly tells him that she doesn't appreciate his involvement without her permission. This is when Eun-sung installs a tracking device onto her car to keep an eye on her. When Hae-in visits the office, she meets her old secretary Ms. Na. Even though Secretary Na is in a different department, Hae-in decides to have her around. Meanwhile, at Hyunwoo's trial, he's acquitted based on CCTV footage of the real murderer, who is later arrested. Hae-in begins to stalk Hyunwoo, keeping a diary of his whereabouts, and finds that he has a loving and warm relationship with his family. At the same time, Hyunwoo returns to Yeongdo-ri and his family throws him a huge welcome. Beomja visits Yeongdo-ri as a chief sponsor of Hyunwoo's prison release celebration. But secretly, all her efforts are directed towards Young-sung. She cheats and makes Young-sung the winner of the grand prize, but since he's a minimalist, he gifts it to someone else. Beomja and Young-sung come outside and Beomja confesses to him. Only, she still has her mic on and everybody is enjoying the free entertainment from inside the building. At a high executive meeting, Eun-sung is informed about Hyunwoo's acquittal and that he's requested to rejoin the company and they cannot legally refuse his refuse. At the same time, there's an upcoming shareholder meeting where the agenda is to remove Eun-sung on charges of embezzlement. It seems that Sulhee sent financial documents to the shareholders. As Eun-sung sits on a shaky throne, he proceeds to use the slush fund money to buy a little over 4% shares of the Queen's Group to strengthen his position. News reaches Hyunwoo and company about Eun-sung's desperate attempts to keep the company to himself. Hyunwoo tells the rest that Dahae has given him the evidence against Eun-sung for 2 trillion investment fraud. Meanwhile, Dahae meets her ex-partner and gives him all the money that she has. They attempt to take Dahae to Sulhee, but Soo Cheol employs everything he's learned from Baek Hyuntae and manages to hold them until Hyuntae arrives. Meanwhile, Hae-in and Hyunwoo meet and Hae-in tells him that she feels uncomfortable in his presence. Later, when she returns home, she finds a package addressed to her but doesn't open it. The next day, she receives an email invite from herself and ends up in the aquarium where Hyunwoo is waiting with the same invite. Their wedding video plays out and the employees gift a bouquet to Hyunwoo, telling him that it's from Hae-in. Hae-in is terribly confused and Hyunwoo encourages her to doubt everything and stay clear of Eun-sung as he's been manipulating and isolating her. Hae-in returns home and visits Eun-sung. She observes that there's no scar mark on his hand while she saw one on Hyunwoo's hand. Later, she finally opens the package to find the barely burnt notebook. It's revealed that the notebook was found by the hospital staff in Germany, who picked it up from the garbage can and posted it back to her. Hae-in reads her letters to herself, reminding her about Hyunwoo and their relationship. She contacts Hyunwoo and leaves to meet him. Just when the two are about to cross the road, Hae-in disappears and Hyunwoo is hit by a car. In the epilogue, it's revealed that Hae-in's father hired detectives to keep an eye on Hae-in in Germany, who conveys that from all her investigation, it seems Eun-sung has an unrequited love and he's a danger to everyone. It's also revealed that it might be Eun-sung who had hit Hyunwoo in a fit of rage. Hyunwoo's accident, but it's revealed that Eun-sung isn't the one behind the accident. He's rushed to the emergency where his parents visit him and find that he's had his ribs and liver ruptured. But Hyunwoo's nowhere to be found. Hae-in wakes up from a dream which is a memory from when Hyunwoo proposed to her in the aquarium. It's revealed that Hae-in warned him about her family and Hyunwoo, nevertheless, wanted to marry her. She finds herself in a different place and sees Eun-sung. From his demeanor that screamed madness, she ascertains that it would be safer for her to play with his games and she acknowledges her mistake and agrees to marry him. Eun-sung reveals to her that a helicopter will be coming to take them to the States at dawn where they will be getting married. Hyunwoo arrives where his friend Kim Young-gil is inspecting the CCTVs to find Hae-in. They arrive at the hunting grounds of the Queen's family where Eun-sung and Hae-in are. In the meantime, Grace has revealed to Sulhee that Hae-in had disappeared on Hyunwoo's orders since Hyunwoo thinks that Sulhee will be able to find Eun-sung faster. She calls someone to get the slush fund transferred to another bank but finds that Eun-sung has them converted into dollars and moved already. And so, Sulhee also arrives at the hunting grounds. When Sulhee asks for the recording, Eun-sung tells her where it is along with the password. Through Eunseon, it's revealed that it was Sulhee who tinkered with Hae-in and her brother's boat, leading to her brother's death. And Hae-in listens to this conversation. This is when the lights go out and Hyunwoo comes to find Hae-in while Eunseon desperately looks for her and sees the two leaving. He grabs the hunting rifle and goes after them. Hyunwoo and Hae-in somehow make it out. In the meantime, Kim Young-jae has ushered the police and the ambulance in. But Eunseon catches up to the two and is hysterical. He begs Hae-in for the last time to come with him and the helicopter arrives, but Hae-in refuses, and so, since he cannot have Hae-in, he shoots at her even when the police have him at gunpoint. But Hyunwoo intervenes and takes the bullet, saving Hae-in, and before he can shoot again, the police fire at Eunseon and he dies. Hyunwoo is rushed to the hospital. In the meantime, Sulhee has been searching the cottage with her men and discovers the slush fund money hidden inside boxes. She's in the process of moving them, when a police officer informs her about Eunseon's death. Amidst this chaos, Hae-in's parents are reminiscing over old memories and Seonhwa seems to be getting over her son's death. She also recognizes Hyunwoo from a picture in the beach and figures out that it was him who saved Hae-in. At this time, Byung-ja relays the news about Hyunwoo and they rush to the hospital. Hyunwoo's parents also arrive and the entire family wait for his surgery to get over. Seonhwa also tells Hyunwoo's mother about the beach incident from years ago when Hyunwoo saved Hae-in.